same-sex couples should be able to get married.
I will fight for an amendment to our Constitution that defines marriage as a relationship between a man and a woman.
It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute.
This is historically the kind of language that is used to silence women, especially when women stand up and say that these are their reproductive health care needs and this is what they need.
That's just a snapshot of the latest battles in the recurring culture wars as we head from the presidential candidates when it comes to same-sex marriage and also from the two most prominent folks in the debate over contraception funding. You just heard Sandra Fluke and, of course, Rush Limbaugh before that. And we've had other issues, too. And frankly, I'm a little surprised, Dom, that it's come up this year when obviously issue 1, 2, and 3 are jobs. We heard so much in the Republican primaries over this issue. Then we saw what happened on same-sex marriage. Were you a little surprised it's become as dominant an issue as it has?
I'm not surprised at all. I think the media has been driving a lot of this, looking for issues. Those journalists in the media.
Why would anybody go into that line of work?
I think that the journalists have been pushing this issue, looking for stuff to cover, and looking for Mr. Romney, who was pushed to the right, almost off the cliff.
It's also the day-to-day stuff. It's the day-to-day way we live our lives. It's the way the country always operates. These are the things that affect people on a day-to-day basis just as much as jobs do.
It feels more immediate.
It does.
I'll ask you the question that every lawmaker we've had on here, we've asked as well. The president laid out what he did after Joe Biden may have pushed him there, but still, he answered how he feels about same-sex marriage. Obviously, in New York, the state joined the ranks of other states to legalize it. How do you feel about it? You obviously have a personal connection to it. People saw the Wall Street Journal article.
Yeah.
Speak about it from your own personal standpoint.
Well, it's my standpoint is I'm a federal legislator representing the Hudson Valley, and my feeling is that my principle is that the federal government should not force a definition of marriage on the states. New York State has made its choice.
Do you think it's a civil right?
I think it is a matter at this juncture in our history that is rapidly evolving, and in fact cases involving the Defense of Marriage Act are winding their way with, I think, a certain amount of rapidity toward the Supreme Court.
They
So I think we're going to have, they're
winding their way through the law and everything. Just you personally.
Richard, I use my convictions to guide my role as a legislator. Okay, I'm not making decisions based on personal aspects one way or another. And my principle is that I'm a federalist and I respect the Constitution. When we talk about issues, there was Sandra Fluke talking about the issue of the contraception mandate. And if you look at that, you have constitutional issues incorporated right into that issue.
If I followed your argument, Dominic in certain states in this country may not be able to vote or to be going into the same restroom that I do, or he'd have to sit in the back of the bus. There's been points in our American history where we don't leave it to the states and we decide. There's civil rights issues and people are either the same or they're not the same. And it's a question of, are two men and two women, should they have the same right as a man and a woman if it comes to marry? And it's you know, I don't think this is, maybe the Supreme Court, and you're very well right, they may decide on it, but everybody's weighed in from Dick Cheney on down about how they feel about the issue. It's a personal, visceral thing. And
the Supreme Court's going to be weighing in on DOMA, which is an important federal
There's also a push to overturn DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act. Would you support overturning the Defense of Marriage Act?
I think that the Supreme, just as we're going to see now with the Affordable Care Act, with the 2010 health law, we're going to see the Supreme Court weigh in on its constitutionality. And I think you're going to see the same thing happening with DOMA. And at that point, then we will have a much more
due respect. If a bill is submitted in the House of Representatives that would overturn the Defense of Marriage Act, would you vote for it?
That's not the emphasis in the House. I mean, I know a certain amount about the way the House agenda is going to go for the rest of the year.
Why is this a tricky question? I don't get it.
Because we have a focus on the issues that concern every single American most acutely right now, including my friends and colleagues who are gay, including the log cabin Republicans whom I support and by whom I am supported, and that is to make sure that our economy can provide for the needs of every American
This
citizen.
is a
But
civil
that's
rights question.
Richard, we have such a limited amount. These are
limited
important
amount of
issues.
what?
Limited amount of legislative time
Wait
that
a
we are
minute. You
going to
guys are
spend.
about to, with all due respect,
Yeah.
you guys are about to do a fight over the debt limit that you and I both know the Senate will never
We're
vote
not
on.
about
The
to-
president, we will all
Wait a
win
minute,
4
Richard.
mega millions
We're not
before
about
the
to have-
president ever signs it. And we're going
We're
to
not
waste all
about to
that
have a
time.
fight over the debt limit.
No, you're not gonna get anywhere with it, Congresswoman.
Before we do a lot of other things first. But we have such a full slate of tasks involving pieces of legislation that are must pass for this year, including appropriations bills for every department of government, that we have the opportunity to allow the constitutional process to play out, because that is going to have an effect on what House and Senate and President do.
Congresswoman, are you willing to acknowledge, to admit that your party is behind the times, the Republican Party, when it comes to gay marriage?
Members of the House of Representatives, senators who are from the Republican Party, Governor Romney expressed a certain, there is a certain diversity of views. Clearly, this issue is evolving in the public mind. That's appropriate. There is a generational shift that does seem to be going on. We have a constitutional process that we're seeing starting to unfold. And again, from the federal point of view, the federal government
Fair
should
enough, but
respect
every
what the
American
states
citizen
do.
has opinions on certain things. People believe in the death penalty, they don't. People believe
Yes, and
in choice, people
every
believe
state
in gay
has its
marriage.
own-
I'm just asking, as an American citizen, your opinion on it.
But these are issues of civil policy within states.
Okay.
Richard, that are going to be that are undergoing the constitutional review process as we speak.
Are you limited in your ability to vary from party orthodoxy because of pressures within the party? There is certainly a large group.
I'm
The
just
Conservative
stating-
Party in New York has already targeted Republicans who voted for same-sex marriage in the
state Senate,
state to try to knock them out. You were elected with
And I will
conservative
tell you
line
that's
support.
not what I'm in our district. We have Senator Saland, and I can tell you he's running a very strong campaign with a lot of folks from the Conservative Party
I guess
who are
what I'm asking
supporting him.
is
You have to
this
temper how you feel
Yeah.
at what you say because
No, I'm
of...
stating what I've stated
Fair
from the
enough.
very beginning of my campaign, which is that as a federal legislator, I have to respect the Constitution, and the Constitution has to respect the states.